We now have with us Sayyid Shabe Arbaeen. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
What is it that are we going to do some nasiba, or you want to tell us a little bit something first?
We'll have a little bit of a discussion because we do have some time, and then inshallah we'll go on to nasiba.
And the discussion, I believe, is on wilaya, which obviously is very important on a night to night. And wilaya, if we translate it into English, is authority. But from an Islamic point of view, what does this authority entail?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وصلى على محمد وآله صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله. Tonight, of course, being the night of Arbaeen, it's incidental that tonight happens to be one of the coldest nights we've been up here, and however, this does not cease the crowds which keep on increasing by the hour, and despite the very cold weather, people sleeping on the streets, people on the streets inside the haram, and of course ourselves here. I won't keep you for very long, inshallah. Very, very briefly, the concept of authority in the religion of Islam comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has the supreme authority, and it is He who has delegated authority towards His selected servants in the religion of Islam. First He delegated the authority to the prophets, and then later on He delegated His authority to Aimma alayhi salatu wasalam. This is what we mean when we speak about authority. And of course, when we come towards the incident that is the nucleus of authority in the religion of Islam, the incident of Ghadir, we find that the Holy Prophet transfers this authority that he possesses towards Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wasalam on the day of Ghadir. And when you see Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam rise for Karbala, you see that he refers to and acknowledges and talks about this authority on the day when he leaves. He says, I leave the city of my grandfather not because I desire bloodshed or I desire war, but because I desire to reform the nation of my grandfather and walk the footsteps of my grandfather and my father. In other words, the footsteps of those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given authority, divinely bestowed them with authority. It is this authority that Lady Zainab alayhi salatu wasalam refers to in her very famous sermon. When she talks about the authority of Ahlulbayt alayhi salam in the city of Damascus. And I will just share with you some of the parts of the sermon, inshallah, and then obviously we'll talk a little bit about the arrival of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam in the city of Karbala when they arrive for the second time. Lady Zainab alayhi salatu salam arises from her place in the court of Yazid, and she addresses Yazid saying, praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the Lord of the worlds, and may His choicest blessings be upon the final, the messenger, and upon all of his descendants. And then she says, truthful is Allah who says that, she recites a verse of the Holy Quran. She says, the end of those who have done wrong is evil, that they have belied the signs of Allah and they have mocked them. This is verse number 10 of Surah Al-Rum. And then she says, have you presumed, O Yazid, that by restricting upon us an expanse of the earth and the heavens, and rendering us a state where we are driven as captives, that we are contemptible in the sight of Allah because of this action of yours, and that you enjoy a high position with Him? Or that you turn your nose up in arrogance, boasting yourself cheerfully and exuberantly as if this world has submitted to you, and the affairs have become harmonized, and our authority and control have become yours? No, surely have you forgotten what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran? Do not consider those who have disbelieved that we grant them good for themselves. No, we only give them a respite so that they may increase their sins, and for them there is a painful punishment. And then she says, she reminds Yazid of the conquest of Mecca, which we were discussing a bit earlier. She says, oh, the son of Yabnat Tulaqa, oh, the son of a freed slave. Is it just that you cover up your women while you drive the daughters of the Messenger of Allah as captives? You have violated their coverings, and you have exposed their faces and led them from city to city and looked upon by natives and foreigners. Their faces have been seen by the near and the far, the lowly and the noble. There is no guardian with them from among the men, or a defender for their protectors. How can goodness be anticipated from you? Lady Zainab says, upon whose mouth has spat out the liver of the best of men, and whose flesh has become firm by the blood of the martyrs. Here, of course, Lady Zainab is referring to the incident of the grandmother of Yazid chewing the liver of Hazrat Hamza in the Battle of Uhud. And then she says, how can the one who looks at us, the household of the Messenger, with resentment and hostility, abhorrence and malice, not harbor hatred against us? And while pointing at the teeth of Abu Abdullah, the Lord of the youth of paradise, and you poke them with your cane, why should you not say that when you scrape the scab of the wound and spilled the blood of the progeny of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the shining star of the earth from the descendants of Abdul Muttalib? You cry out to your elders and presume you are calling out to them. No, soon you will be lodged with them and wish you had been paralyzed and muted and not have said what you said, nor done what you have done. O Allah, retrieve our right and take revenge for those who have oppressed us. Cause your wrath to descend upon those who have shed our blood and killed our guardian. Here, Lady Zainab alayhi salam comes forward and she says that your hands drip with our blood and your mouths feed on our flesh of those pure and untainted bodies of the martyrs are consumed by wolves and buried beneath discs of the clawed of the scavenging hyenas. If you take us as beauty, you will find a greater depth when you have the deeds for which you are committed to answer for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For your Lord is not unjust to the people, and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our complaint, and on Him we rely. So plot your deception and strive as hard as you can. Exert all of your efforts. By Allah, you will not wipe out our memory, nor will you destroy our revelation. And we see today, with 15 million people on the day of Arbaeen, that the memory of Hussein is not wiped out. It is still there. For Lady Zainab said, you will not wipe out our memory. You will not destroy our revelation. You will not be remembered for as long as you will be, and you will not be cleansed of the disgrace of which you have done. Is your view anything except a lie? Are your days anything but numbered? Is your group anything but deficient? On the day in which the caller will call out, may the curse of Allah befall the oppressive people. All praise be to Allah, the Lord of the world, who sealed the fate of the first of us with happiness and forgiveness, and that of the last of us with martyrdom and mercy. We beseech Allah to complete the reward for them, to increase in recompense to them, and to grant us the best of succession. Indeed, He, compassionate and loving, He is sufficient for us and the best of guardians. It is here where Lady Zainab alayhi salam finished her speech, and then Imam al-Sajjad proceeded forward and gave his most eloquent sermon, which we've previously mentioned. But what we would like to mention this evening is, of course, the farewell from the city of Damascus, when Yazid, having tried all of his ways in order to suppress Ahlulbayt alayhi salam, could no longer do so, and the city of Damascus had converted from a city of the enemy of Ahlulbayt to a city which knew everything about Ahlulbayt. Now Yazid felt fearful of the people of Damascus. He wanted to free the prisoners that were in his prisons, and so he came forward and he called upon Imam al-Sajjad and he said, "O Ali ibn al-Hussein, I wish to grant you freedom. Give me your conditions. What do you desire?" Imam Sajjad says, after the incident of Karbala, I have not done anything without the permission of my aunt Lady Zainab alayha salam. I will ask her for permission before I come towards you. Imam Sajjad comes towards Lady Zainab alayha salam. He asks her that Yazid has offered us freedom. What do you desire? Lady Zainab alayhi salam comes forward and she says, oh my son Sajjad, I desire three things. First of all, we desire that all of the looted belongings that were looted from us on the eve of the 11th of Muharram are returned to us. The second thing that I desire is that I have not been able to cry for my brother Hussein. I wish for there to be a place to be made where we can spend days and nights weeping for Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. And my third desire is that we are sent towards Karbala and then we are returned home to Medina. Yazid, having been defeated, is forced to accept all three of these conditions. Imam Sajjad comes forward with these conditions. Yazid accepts all of these conditions. For 3 days and nights, a house is made available to all the ladies and the children, and there they establish the majlis. They weep and beat themselves on the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This was the establishment of the majlis of Imam Hussein. This was the establishment of the mentioning of the martyrdom and the grief of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. After these 3 days take place, all the heads of the martyrs come towards this house. And as the heads and all the belongings are returned back, as every head comes back, every woman comes forward and she takes the head of her relative. When the head of Qasim comes, Farwa comes forward and she takes the head into her lap. When the head of Ali Akbar comes, Layla comes forward and she takes the head into her lap. And then when all the heads have arrived, 2 heads are left remaining. The women of Sham see this, the women of Damascus see this, and they say, has the mother of these 2 individuals died? Lady Zainab says, why do you say something like this? They say, we see that these heads have been left alone. Lady Zainab says, no, their mother is alive. I am Zainab and I am their mother. But who shall I cry for? Shall I cry for Hussein? Or shall I cry for Abbas? Or shall I cry for Awnu Muhammad? After this takes place, then Imam Sajjad alayhi salatu wasalam takes the caravan and he proceeds towards the city of Medina en route to Karbala. And this is what takes place just prior to the days of Arbaeen. But before they leave the city of Damascus, there is a final farewell. There is a farewell to that 4-year-old daughter of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, who has died in that prison. And Lady Zainab alayhi salam and all the women come forward. They come forward and they bid farewell to this child. And they say, Lady Zainab addresses Sakina and she says, oh Sakina, you used to ask me, when is it that we will go home? We are now going home, but you are not joining us. You are not joining us, for you are staying in this city. The grief was so heartfelt that the women would turn their heads towards the grave and the place of the burial as they left the city of Damascus, and they kept on looking back as far as they could see. Alas, the caravan of Hussein alayhi salam, laden with all this pain and sorrow, this grief and unmountable memories of loss, left the city of Damascus, weighed down by the heavy burden of this tragedy. And the narration says that on the return journey, the caravan reached an intersection where one route went to Medina and one route went through Karbala. Imam Sajjad took the route through Karbala so that they may visit the graves of Hussein alayhi salam and the companions. Some have narrated that when the caravan arrived in Karbala, the women and the children proceeded towards the battlefield. They proceeded towards the battlefield and they began recounting these trials and tribulations that had befallen the Imam, lamenting at his loss. The women joined them and paid their respects and salutations to the Imam. Lady Zainab alayhi salatu wasalam tore her collar and with a tormented voice cried out, "Oh my brother, oh Hussein, oh beloved of the Messenger of Allah, oh the son of Mecca and Mina, oh the son of Fatima to Zahra, oh the son of Ali al-Murtada." She continued to lament until she became unconscious. The women gathered round her and sprinkled water on her until she regained consciousness. One of the fainted women was Fatima, the daughter of Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. According to one tradition, Rabab, the wife of Imam al-Hussein, remained by the grave and cried continuously days and nights the tragedy that had befallen Hussein. She refused to sit under a shade, and she would say, "My husband was killed in the scorching heat. How can I sit in a shade?" ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أيام منقلبه ينقلبون.